I'm a 25-year-old guy who grew up in Colorado. On the outside, we looked like any other middle-class family. But behind closed doors, everything was completely abnormal. My brother Mike, who is now 24, was always our mother's golden boy. You know the type, the kid who can spill juice all over the living room carpet, and she'll rave about his creative approach. That was Mike. While I worked hard every summer from the age of 16 on my uncle's construction sites, Mike was allowed to unleash his creative potential, which meant smoking weed all day in the basement and making semi-professional videos for YouTube. Mom always found excuses for him. He's just trying to find himself, or he's sensitive, he just needs time to figure things out. But if I came home from work after a 12-hour day, collapsed on the couch, and didn't jump up to wash the dishes as soon as I walked in the door, suddenly, I was lazy and irresponsible. Don't get me wrong. In many ways, I had a typical suburban life. I played football in high school, and in my senior year, our team made it to the state finals. We probably would have won if our quarterback hadn't twisted his ankle in the third quarter. On weekends, I sat in my dad's garage fixing cars. To be honest, it was the only place I didn't compete with my mom, who was constantly comparing me to others. My 22-year-old sister Emma was smart. She always had her nose in a book. She and my dad had a quiet agreement. They would read each other crossword clues while I helped him fix cars. I guess we all had our place. In college, I really started to pull away from Mike, and he didn't even realize it, just like my mother. On weekends, I worked construction to pay for my civil engineering program at Colorado State University so I wouldn't have to take out student loans. Mike dropped out of college after 2 semesters. The reason? The system was stifling his creativity, and my mother, of course, believed it. I worked like a dog, got good grades, made great friends, and right after graduation, I landed a great job with one of Colorado's leading commercial construction companies. The pay was lousy at first, but it was normal for my age, and I liked the work. Most importantly, I was doing something concrete instead of sitting at a desk for the rest of my life. That's how I met Rachel. She was an intern at an elementary school near one of our job sites. If I was lucky, I would see her during lunch when she was sitting with the kids during recess. One day, I saw a ball fly over the fence and threw it back. That's how we started talking. And I believe she was really cool. She loved kids, was studying to be a teacher, came from a good family, everything I considered important. My mom loved her from the first moment she saw her. Looking back, I realized that was the first sign. Mom invited her to dinner at our house, even when I was working late. She and Mike would sit and talk about music and movies for hours, while I worked hard to provide a future for us. "How did you and Mike get so close so quickly? It's so sweet," my mom would say, looking happy again, as if she had arranged it all herself. We had been together for 3 years, and in December I proposed to her. I took her to the mountain trail where we had our first real date. I got down on one knee in the snow, just like in a romantic movie. She said yes. I was sure we had made it. We even put a deposit down on a cute little house not far from my parents' home. Rachel talked endlessly about wanting at least 3 children. She said she wanted to raise her children close to her family. "Your mom is going to be such a good grandmother," she said. Looking back, I can see that all the signs were there. The way she would go to my parents' house every time I worked on the weekends. The inside jokes with Mike that I didn't get. My mom's subtle comments about how they really understood each other. But you love people. People are the ones you love, the ones closest to you. You feel like you have to trust each other. I mean, love each other. I remember one dinner, about a month before everything fell apart. Rachel was telling a story from school, and Mike finished her sentence for her. They both laughed at the same time, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Mom sat there beaming like a director watching her play. Dad and Emma exchanged glances, but I was too absorbed in work problems to notice. God, I was so blind. Then came the turning point. It was a Tuesday in April. I remember because we had scheduled the foundation pour for our new office, and the supplier was late with the delivery. My foreman sent me home since there was nothing for us to do. Normally, I would have used the extra time to work on paperwork, but I believed I could swing by and surprise Rachel for lunch. I always said I worked too much, you know? It was around 1 p.m. when I got home and saw Mike's beat-up Jeep in the driveway. Our parents had given him that old truck for his 21st birthday, even after he had wrecked 2 cars. He was supposed to be at his new part-time job at a music store, the latest in a string of careers, as my mom always said, which, by the way, she was paying for. But I figured he was just visiting, like so many others. The front door was unlocked. I could hear music coming from upstairs. All of Me by John Legend, our engagement song. Clothes were scattered on the stairs, his old t-shirt with the band logo, her favorite teacher's sweater. I just froze. It was like in the movies, when everything stops and the world falls silent. That's exactly how I felt. Her sweater, the one I gave her for Christmas, hung on the door like a neon sign, flashing betrayal. I understood everything. I won't tell you what I saw when I opened the door. You already know. But what was even worse, much worse, was that they didn't notice me at first. They were completely absorbed in each other. When they finally noticed me, Mike said, "Oh shit, bro," as if he'd spilled beer on my couch. Rachel immediately started crying, covered herself with sheets like a cocoon, and repeated, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God," like a broken record. Mike just stared at me, a cocktail of guilt, and maybe even relief. I didn't yell. I didn't hit him, even though every molecule in my body wanted to. I just walked out. I sat in my car for almost an hour. Eventually, they both came out. Mike rushed to his SUV. Rachel stood on the porch in her robe, mascara running down her face. I waited in the field until Mike drove away, and only then did I return to the house. "How long?" I asked. At first, she tried to dodge the question. "I didn't want to hurt you." "I don't know. It just happened." But I asked my question. Finally, she broke down. They had been sleeping together for 2 years, because I had been working weekends to save up for a ring for her, starting about a month after we met. All those Saturdays I worked overtime, believing that one day she would be with it. And when she said she was checking her notebooks, she was with him. When she went to help her mom in the garden, yes, same story. And she sincerely tried to justify herself. She sat on the couch I spent 3 paychecks on, because according to her it was perfect for the family we would one day have, and told me about how close she and Mike were, through art, through music, through what I never understood. She said she loved me but was in love with him. I told her she had until the end of the day to pack her things and leave. She begged me to give her more time and talk about it. I left. I went to Home Depot. I bought new locks. When I came back, she was gone. But she left a note. 5 pages, handwritten. Apologies, regrets, about how Mike made her feel seen. I think it's still in my drawer. The next 48 hours were a blur. I called my boss and took the day off. I changed all my passwords, all my accounts. I blocked their numbers. Emma was the only one who told me what happened after that. Rachel ran to my mom in tears, who hugged her, told her that everything happens for a reason, and then invited her to dinner. On the same day I called her, I ran into my brother. Mike was there too. He had prepared a speech. We had no choice. It just happened. They told me they wanted to tell me but didn't know how. Mom nodded as if it were some great forbidden romance, not just betrayal. Dad was silent. Emma left in disgust. Rachel went home to her parents at first, but a week later she was spending the night at my parents' house, in my old room, with Mike, and my mom was perfectly fine with it. In fact, she seemed thrilled. I found out that she had been pushing them toward it behind my back. The implication was that Rachel was more Mike's type, and they were soulmates. Emma was the only one who supported me. She brought pizza and sat silently while I raged and felt empty. And my mom? She had the nerve to insist, "One day we'll all laugh about this." Yeah, right. New carrier, new number, new phone, new device. The guy at the store helped me transfer all the files I needed without syncing anything to my old accounts. The next step was social media. I saved all the important photos and messages before deleting everything. I blocked everyone. Mike, Rachel, my mom, my dad, their friends, and their family members. Everyone who was on their side. I didn't block Emma. She was still mumbling, and I was too tired to keep arguing. I even changed my email address and created new social media accounts under a different name, just for work. The apartment was more complicated. I had 4 months left on my lease, but my landlord turned out to be surprisingly kind. By a lucky coincidence, he had been through a similar situation with his brother. He allowed me to terminate the lease early, charging only 1 month's rent. That evening, I started packing my things. I threw out everything Rachel and I had bought, and that damn couch she left behind, I put it on Craigslist for free. An hour later, a group of students came to pick it up. I was supposed to start work in Texas in January, but I called my boss and asked if I could start earlier. "If you want me to be there for the holidays." He was thrilled, said they needed help with SAP implementation. I signed a lease online, paid the deposit that same day, and rented an apartment in Houston from a colleague. The next week flew by in a flurry of boxes and logistics. I only told 2 people about my departure, my best friend from the construction crew and my former foreman. They did me a favor and kindly helped me load the U-Haul truck. The foreman even warned me the day before that my mom had called the office asking for me. Irony of fate, right? While I was packing, my mother kept calling and begging me to come to a big family gathering to heal the wounds. At the same time, she lectured me endlessly about how running away never solves anything. This was coming from a woman who had spent decades running away from reality, burying her head in the sand when it came to the metaphorical flaws of her golden boy. On the day I left, December 15th, it was freezing cold. The windows were covered in ice and you could see your breath. It seemed fitting. I woke up at 4 a.m., loaded the last boxes, and drove off into the darkness. No notes, no goodbyes. Just my pickup truck and the U-Haul trailer hitched up behind it. She must have realized something was wrong pretty quickly. When I got to Kansas, my phone was ringing with messages from distant relatives. Apparently, she had gone to my house, found me gone, and started calling everyone she knew, crying and telling them how I had abandoned my family and how worried she was. I kept driving. I got a friend request on Instagram from an unfamiliar account in Oklahoma. It was my mom. She was trying to be sneaky. Her words read like a soap opera script. "Why did you leave without telling us? We're your family. We miss you. Come home for the holidays. We'll figure this out together." I had lost 2 brothers, and the last time I saw you and the rest of my family was at their funeral, and here I was talking to you. And I responded with the most sincere words I had ever written. "You have 1 son left. I am no longer a part of this family." Then I blocked her. That night, I made it to a cheap motel in Texas. I was too tired to move into my new apartment, so I just collapsed onto the bed. And for the first time in months, I slept like a baby. No nightmares, no clenched fists, no anger. Just silence. Shortly after that, I found out that my mom had exploded after reading my message. She called everyone I know, cried, called me reckless, and told everyone that she had failed as a mother. Yes, you failed. It just wasn't what you believed. Life in Texas was getting better. 3 months later, I became a project manager. I was no longer distracted by family chaos and could focus on work. I bought a new F-150, basically the pickup truck Mike had always wanted but could never afford because, well, art doesn't pay the bills. I also started training at a mixed martial arts gym to release the last remnants of my anger in a more productive way. For the first time in my life, I was breathing. And then the call came. It was January, a Wednesday. I was looking over blueprints with the foreman when the phone rang, an unknown number, a Colorado area code. I almost didn't answer. I wish I hadn't. It was Aunt Susan, my mom's only normal sister, God knows why, given the gene pool. She was crying, and that scared me. Aunt Susan never cries. She told me that my mother had stage 4 breast cancer, incurable, that she had no more than 3 months to live. At best, maybe less. My mother asked me to come. She wanted to make peace before it was too late. I stopped in the parking lot and didn't move for an hour. I bought a plane ticket to Colorado, packed a suitcase, not knowing if I would need a suit, and convinced myself that maybe everything could still be fixed. Aunt Susan picked me up at the airport. She was reserved, didn't look at me. Mom was waiting for me at home, she said. I walked into the house I hadn't seen since Thanksgiving and gasped. Everyone was there. Mom, Dad, Mike, Rachel, Emma, even Rachel's parents. No hospital bed, no oxygen tanks. Just my good old mom working in the garden in a sweater, as if nothing had happened. Silence. Then the tears started. Fake ones, of course. She said she needed to do something to get the family back on track. She couldn't stand to see us falling apart. Mike and Rachel were walking arm in arm. Rachel even looked a little plump, as if the whole charade had fixed everything. I stared at my mother. "You told us you had cancer," I muttered. She started mumbling something about desperate times and a mother's love. Rachel nodded as if it were perfectly normal. Mike just stared at the ground. Perhaps, I thought, composing a song. Dad did what he always did. "Well, let's not make a tragedy out of this. Just move on. They're engaged now. We need to be a family again." I laughed, really laughed. I couldn't stop. I looked at them and said, "This is a blessing. Now I truly understand that cutting you out of my life was the best thing I ever did." Mom just lost it, bursting into tears, for real this time. Mike stood up, probably to pretend he was hurt, even though I hadn't hurt him. The only reason I was in that room was because I believed my mother was dying. "Well, congratulations, Mom. Fucking parents. You just flushed all my respect for you down the toilet." I left. Aunt Susan was in the car. She was really crying. Mom had pressured her too, lied that I wanted to kill myself, said it was the only way to save me. Classic. That same night, I flew back to Texas and blocked all the numbers from Colorado except Aunt Susan's. I started a new life here in Texas. I started dating Sarah, a nurse I met at the gym. She was smart, hard-working, nothing like Rachel. I wanted to get my life together for the first time in my life. However, a year later, on Christmas, she turned on me too. She lured my family to her place for an intervention. My mom had been setting her up for months. Sarah believed she was helping me, but she wasn't. That night, I left her. A year later, karma caught up with all those bitches. 6 months later, Mike and Rachel's marriage fell apart. She cheated on him with his best friend. Now she's pregnant with that guy's baby. Rachel lost her teaching job. No school wants to hire a guy who sleeps with his students' relatives. Mike got depressed. He got fired, started drinking, and now lives in his mother's basement writing songs about his broken heart. Dad finally left Mom when he found out she had gotten into debt paying for Mike's numerous projects, and their joint ones, and their wedding. Now he lives with Aunt Susan, and he apologized to me. Mom? She's working as a cashier at Walmart, her first official job in 30 years. And me? I met Molly, a girl who knows what it means to be loyal. We've been living together for 6 months. She's pregnant. It's love. Mom gave me an old box with my childhood things and a letter about family heritage and second chances. I kept the childhood clothes. I threw the letter straight in the trash. Emma is getting married next month. She and Dad are seeing a therapist. They want to build a new life, and they don't want Mom or Mike in it. Maybe I should go with them, Molly says, but she doesn't push it. She's seen everything, the screenshots, the voice messages, the lies. People can change, she says simply, if they work at it. The key word is if. Finally, seeing karma in action didn't bring satisfaction, only relief. Relief that I had escaped. Relief that I was free. Relief that I had broken the cycle.